Here we go. It's only been like 4 or 5 years or so, but hi, I'm back. This is only like my 4th iteration of this YouTube channel, so 4th time's a charm. It's the summer of 2003, and my dad and I are off to our friendly neighborhood Menards to buy a tool or something for who knows what. If you're not from the Midwest, then you probably don't know what the heck a Menards is. Think of a Home Depot, but with grocery items and other things that nobody thinks to go to a hardware store for. Like video games. Ah yes, no trip to get some drill bits and some nails would be complete without cereal and a computer game you've never heard of. While he stood in the checkout lane, I wandered over to a shelf stocked with various computer games, and one in particular happened to catch my eye. A cool orange cricket with a smug kind of look on his face that was very staple of the early 2000s. Well, I must have been a pretty good boy that day, because my dad bought the game for us without hardly any convincing at all. That, or since it was Menards, it was probably like $10 or $15 at the time. We ventured home, and while he got to go to work on whatever it was around the house, I got a new video game to get sucked into. Zapper, One Wicked Cricket, was developed by Blitz Games and Atomic Planet and published by Infogrames in November of 2002 on 6th generation consoles, PC, and Game Boy Advance. This was back before I ever had my first video game console, so I experienced it on PC back in the day. It's a 3D platformer, I guess, but with restrictive grid-like movement. If you've ever played Frogger, I'd imagine it's a lot like that, but I wouldn't know because I've never played Frogger. The only one I've had was like a literal handheld Frogger microgame thing I had for a road trip, and this was the only picture I could find of it on the internet. I swear it existed. But Zapper was more than a ripoff of a well-known game. It had personality and an atmosphere that was pretty creepy at times to 7-year-old me. And I never forgot about it as I continued to grow up and experience many other games the world had to offer. However, as much fun as I'd had playing it back in the day, I never actually finished it. My sisters and I got stuck on one of the really late levels that involved a laser maze, and we just got so frustrated with it that we ended up just kind of quitting and never really returned to it. And with how poorly we took care of our games back then, eventually it reached the point where it got scratched to death and we had to dump it along with a lot of the other games we couldn't play anymore. But now, 2 decades later, I decided to pick up another copy to see not only if it was as fun as it was back in the day, but this time, to see it through to the end. I actually haven't looked at this in a long time, so I wanted to crack open the case and see what's inside, and I actually miss when games had things inside the case. Table of contents, how to install, and system requirements. I should probably see if I can run this thing. Let's see, I'm gonna need Windows 98 at least, 64 megabytes of RAM, 128 megabytes recommended, and a 32 megabyte video card. I don't know guys, I might have to overclock something in order to make this happen. I think my mom's here. My mom is here. Oh, I forgot my wife won some money from our Super Bowl party. Meet Zapper, the fastest, coolest, most electrifying cricket in the known universe. Wow, all this dude's missing is a backwards hat. He's got a cute little brother named Zipper, and our villain of the game is Maggie the Magpie. Man, I am loving the originality with these. Available, rugged individualist, outdoorsy type, cynical, physically fit with springy reflexes, into avoiding trouble and self-defense using electrified antenna. Yellow. Wait, yellow? That dude's orange. Like, I'm not crazy, that's orange. That's orange. That is an orange cricket. I also wanted to point out that they didn't put a space between with and the on the back here. I'm docking 5 points from the final score. All right, I can't handle any more excitement. It's time for some zapping. Boot up the game and we're greeted with our main man sliding into frame with some bopping music. And if that wasn't hype enough for you, he knocks on your screen to make sure you're awake. Your main menu's very simple. You've got your story mode for the actual game and arcade mode that just appears to be time trials, which I'm never good at. Options, and to exit the game, I always thought this was a gas pump, but it's actually an explosives detonator. To start the game, you've got to enter 3 letters, just like an old arcade machine, to label your save, and then you can choose between either normal or expert difficulty. If I have a lot of fun playing this, maybe I'll replay it in expert mode, but for now we're just gonna do it normal. Our story begins with Zapper and his little bro Zipper doing what all siblings do. While the two tussle over the remote, the news reports on a thief stealing jewels and various shiny objects from the area. The TV antenna explodes, and Zapper comes up with a creative workaround. Unfortunately for him, the kleptomaniac Maggie the Magpie was in the area and yoinks Zipper from his grasp, but not without leaving him a present. But it's no antenna, and with that, Zapper's journey begins. And that's your cutscene. There's literally no other cutscenes until like the end of the game. Don't see that often these days. The first couple of levels are there to teach you the controls, and I, again, played this on PC, so I'm just going to read what the keyboard layout was. You hop any which direction with the arrow keys. You can perform a super jump with control, which allows you to travel in extra space and clear gaps. And if you hold it, you can fly, hover, sort of. I never found this useful in any circumstance, as you can't travel any further than you could with just a normal super jump, and all it really does is kind of waste your time and leave you a sitting duck. The X and Z keys will turn you either left or right, which I got mixed up at least half the time, and Alt is your zap button. There's 4 worlds with 3 levels each and an unlockable bonus level. You have 2 goals throughout each level. The first is collecting all 100 fireflies, appearing as blue, red, or gold orbs. The former will free either 1 or 5 respectively, and the gold ones are special in that you need to collect them in the order that they're lit, and they'll serve as a key to activate special tiles. I've played this level like 24 times as a kid, and I still got ahead of myself on my first try and totally ruined my chain. You're a little freaky. Oh shoot. Did I just ruin that? I totally just ruined that. Dang. If you collect all 100 fireflies, you'll unlock that world's secret level, where you'll need then to collect 100 coins, otherwise this guy won't give you his hat. He's a real jerk about it too if you miss any, even if it's only 1, like I did. What a... Zap that dude! No! He owes me his hat. The second goal is that there are 6 of Maggie's eggs throughout each level, and your job is to slaughter them. Yeah, these aren't your normal unfertilized eggs. They're alive, and you have to stomp on all 6 of them in order to complete the level. You start with ones that are just moving a bit, kinda like your Pokemon egg hatching, but soon their legs and beak pop out and they'll walk around, and the later ones are just completely hatched. Yep. Still gotta kill him. Give him a good zap and squash that little fella. I guess that's why he's called One Wicked Cricket, am I right? Am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
There's also some rather detailed death animations and sound effects if that wasn't enough for you. I thought I'd make a little compilation for all of you sickos out there, so here you go. One more fun thing to add is that you can step on and zap your pals in each level. I got so much enjoyment listening to them helplessly yelp as I jumped up and down on their faces. Ow, 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 ow. If you zap them though, they will zap you back no matter how far away you are. Even if you leave the screen they're on before they can, they'll do it as soon as they see you again. Now with me, I didn't find the enemies to be all of that challenging, but there were 2 things that killed me the most. Changing directions and depth perception. Seriously, I died by accidentally facing the wrong direction probably more than anything else. I could have tried to change the controls to something else, but there probably wasn't much that could be done to help my stupidity. Depth perception though. There are some parts that just look like they're closer than they actually are, or they just don't really make sense. Like this one part in a later level. I activated a switch all the way down here and I just had no idea how the game expected me to get there. I tried a few different ways to reach it, but I just kept wasting lives and ultimately gave up on it. I'm sure somebody out there could tell me there was an easy and obvious solution to it, but I already feel bad enough about myself for it, so keep it to yourself. Super Zap. I didn't mention that yet. There's certain groups of fireflies hanging out that will charge up your antennas if you've collected enough of them, and then you'll be able to fire a long-ranged super zap that will one-shot most enemies. As fun as it is to do, you can only hold one charge at a time, and it's generally inconvenient to backtrack just to get one more zap, so yeah. Your normal zap is mostly just for killing the most basic of enemies, which is just these slugs, I think, opening crates, and lighting fuses in a few levels. A game called Zapper, and you don't find your zaps to be all that effective. It is fun to use a super zap when you actually get one. It's got a satisfying sound, and who doesn't like watching their enemies fry? Your first world is the woodsy one, beginning with Overgrown Undergrowth, a very nostalgic one for me. It's hardly a challenge, but again, it's mostly here to teach you the mechanics. I love the art direction for it. It's a short, but colorful and fun romp through these woods, and it's where you get to meet all your friends. Ow, 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 ow. Playing through this level again after all this time was special, and it made me excited to experience this all again. Half Acre Wood takes you through a pretty cool garden setting that might actually be my favorite level overall. I just really like the landscape that it starts you out in. You've got a waterfall, a gong you can zap, and more of these murderous statues. You've also got to weave through a band of protesting squirrels a few times that are holding up these acorn picket signs. This is just my kind of weird. White Knuckle Water, I would say, lives up to its name. Half of the map consists of moving logs populated with enemies that can get pretty annoying, spikes that cover almost an entire platform that you've got to maneuver, and man, do I hate the sound of these bees hovering. I do like the little houses that you get to ring a bell to enter, and then things calm down as you go inside. Your antennas light up the dim room and you can hear the rainfall outside. It's just very peaceful. World 2 begins with Canopy Heights, an old adventure-y treasure hunt kind of level. Reminds me of Legends of the Hidden Temple. I always thought that was kind of cool. There's crumbling platforms, these weird totem fellas that make some fun sounds, and chimps with little propeller hats. This guy kept killing me almost every time I tried to get on this platform. I swear he would just spawn every time I tried to land. I also encountered this guy, which caught me off guard. Fun fact about me, I am terrified of spiders, and that also applied to animated ones when I was a kid. I always remember dreading running into one of them. They only move when you move, and my palms would get sweaty as I hurried to try and collect everything and get out of there before he could get me. Now I think he looks kinda cute, and you can easily kill him with a super zap, but he's still huge, and the impending doom of him slowly making his way towards you still sends a bit of a chill down my spine. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you what a coward I really am.
There's Kyle's spider friend. He's gone. There's Kyle.
Cutting Edge Inc. is next in line, and it's a little hard on the eyes. With everything that's moving around on the screen, from the sea of logs, the machinery, and especially the gears that you've got to traverse, it'll try your patience with how often you've just got to sit there and wait for gears or platforms, but it's certainly not the worst offender here. It's a neat design, and just like White Knuckle Water, I especially like how the music would change between the production line and when you go up the tubes to cross the gears. This one though, Raptor Cavern. This was one of the more memorable ones to me. I did not like playing this alone when I was 7, let me tell you. It's dark, the music is pretty minimal, and there's some slightly unsettling sound effects here and there. I had to deal with not one, but 2 giant spiders this time around. I killed the first one without any trouble, but the second one actually got me a few times as I tried to collect everything in its web, so I just moved on. I thought the coolest and weirdest part was this giant skull that you've got to zap the gold teeth out of, and once you've zapped the last one out of his mouth, it'll open up, and then you've got to descend his spine, crawling with all of these angry fireflies. I thought I was collecting fireflies and they were like tiny. These guys are huge. Maybe this guy is a titan and they got some of his spinal fluid and that's why they're giant now. One more weird thing I wanted to point out was this poorly edited sound effect of something screeching in the distance. It just cuts off very abruptly and I don't think you ever find out what it was. I just felt like mentioning that. Spookville, which definitely spooked me back in the day, is our first level on World 3. It kind of gives me end of the world vibes from Kingdom Hearts. A bit of the music and environment design reminded me a bit of those cramped, spooky rooms you had to go through after defeating Chernobog. I think this level had some of the coolest enemies out of all the levels. The first one you'll run into is these ghosts with some sick drip. I also liked some of the ghostly sounds they make, very ghostly. Next are these cowboy cactus that follow you around, kind of like the spiders, but these guys you can't kill, not even with a super zap. So you'll have to move carefully and zap them now and then to keep them from either getting in your way or just straight up squashing you. And by the end of the level, we're killing actual people. I don't even know what these guys were doing, but someone had to put a stop to it. Voodoo Chooo gets the Broken Controller Award for this game. This is the level where I stopped having fun. Remember when I said changing directions and depth perception will kill you more than anything? Yeah, this level's gonna be the one that does it, and you may as well throw impatience in there too. There are so many unkillable enemies that blow steam or fire that you have to wait out in order to cross. Just look at this. I kept spawning back here before this part because I kept trying to figure out how to access this tile down here, that one I mentioned earlier. I still have no idea how I'm supposed to reach that, but I don't care enough anymore to try. And if you make it to the front of the train, you're greeted by this thing. You get extra lives if you zap him in the eye, and if only I could have derailed this train because that's all I wanted to do. Rock Face Chase. My older sister must have been the one to beat this level because I just don't remember it. I found it plain annoying to navigate, and I just wanted to get it over with. It's easy to get lost, and there's almost as many enemies as the last level you have to wait out. It does end with a stampede of cows chasing you at least, so that was cool. Now we're on to the final world, baby, and how could it get more epic than a laser maze? If it were fun. It was not fun. This is where it all ended for us as kids. It wasn't the enemies, there's only a few of these amoeba-like creatures that are pretty easy to avoid. It wasn't depth perception, the whole level is basically flat. It wasn't accidentally killing myself by facing the wrong way. It wasn't even impatience. It was this stupid maze. We got so bored trying to figure this out. We'd come back to it periodically before our disc was shot to see if we could come up with any better ideas, but we never did. This was the giant I had to conquer. This was the challenge I'd finally win for us. After 20 years of experience, completing dozens, maybe even hundreds of games, finishing school, moving out, going to college, getting a degree, getting married, building my first computer, making this video, I was finally ready to prove I had what it takes. I did it. I solved the maze. My lifetime of accumulated wisdom and expertise helped me show this game that it was no match for me. I was smarter. I was better. I marched through that maze with a confidence I hadn't felt in a long time. And the next level, an absolute breeze. A victory lap, I guess you could say. I avoided all of the obstacles, collected all of the fireflies, and was awarded with the secret level. Nothing could stop me now. Chain Reactor is our semi-final level. I gotta say, Maggie didn't strike me as the evil scientist kind of villain. I thought she'd have more of a wicked witch castle than a high-tech facility, but this is an early 2000s platformer, so I guess we're just not supposed to ask questions. You've got to collect golden fireflies in order to move to the next phase, but you gotta be quick and use your head because each tile you step on will disappear pretty quickly underneath you. It doesn't take too long for them to respawn though, so it's not like the ice puzzle in Pokemon Emerald where you can't step on the same space twice. Aside from fumbling at the very beginning, I didn't really have any problem with these puzzles. I died once, maybe 2 more times, but other than that, I didn't struggle with this any more than I did some of the early levels. Also, if you're wondering how Maggie would feel if she knew you were slaughtering all of the children she birthed into the world, maybe this will clear things up. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I just killed one of your children in front of you and you think that's funny. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna squash him. She's like, do it, I dare you. Yeah, see, she thinks it's funny. I don't know who's more depraved at this point, him or her. Once you solve all of her puzzles and murder her last child, you get to take the fight to home base. This is what it's all been leading up to. Hasta la vista, magpie. We should make this quick, he's missing out on primetime television. Squash a few more of her kiddos and she'll show up and try and carpet bomb you with more. Pretty easy to dodge, and then she'll get her beak stuck, leaving her wide open for a good old super zap. I didn't find there to be a whole lot of variation between her moves. She'll destroy more and more tiles as the fight continues, so you've got to watch where you're going. But a few more super zaps to the face and she's finished. Little bro falls from the sky and breaks her face after she tries to jump scare you, and then it's off to the clanker for her. And with that, our hero returns home with his brother safe and sound, and no lessons were learned after all. And that's Zapper, one wicked cricket. Having returned to it after all this time, how do I feel in the end? Well, I was right on the money with howlongtobeat.com as I finished this in just under 4 hours. My case also says that it was $14.95 back in the day, but considering that I got it from Menards, it was probably less. But for 4 hours and an extra hour, maybe 2 to complete it, probably not worth it. But hey, I got this for like $10 on Amazon, and for the experience to revisit my childhood, I had a pretty good experience overall. And now, my friend, I think we can finally put you to rest. And who knows, maybe my kids will get to experience the wickedness someday. Thanks for watching. And if you're actually one of the old subscribers of this channel and you've been sticking around after all this time, welcome back. I'm not really good at ad-libbing, so I've always wanted to make more content, but it doesn't help that life either got in the way or I just didn't really have the resources to make it happen. And on top of that, I'm a little lazy. But here I am, and there's more to come. Currently, I'm on a kick of beating games from my childhood, so I'm curious to see if some of those overlap with some of the ones that you guys may have played. I've actually got my next one picked out already. It's a good old classic I used to play with my dad back in the day. And I'm actually gonna see if he's interested to play with me. That'll do it for this video though, so if you liked it, give it a like. I'd really appreciate it. But other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Ow. 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 Ow, 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 ow.